This video is not about architecture, Eiffel Tower, or any kind of esoteric advice. This is about how geniuses are remembered by applying a specific visualization system. Because if you think about this, there are things that most people can remember. But by the other hand, there is a hidden visualization system that few people understand. But how can I do something to be remembered? Why most people can remember the Eiffel Tower? Because most people think the Eiffel Tower is remembered because there is a relation with France, Paris, France, Europe, uh, like iconic building, or the iron structure, or something about engineering or architecture. But all of these perspectives, all of these features are in the conscious level. So this is not the reason why most people can remember the Eiffel Tower, because all of these elements are just information, knowledge you can learn in the conscious level. This is your conscious level, and this is your non conscious level of the mind. Are just things you can learn, information, piece of information. In other words, in the conscious level, you perceive knowledge. As you can see, these perceptions are in the conscious level. Different elements, different piece of information about something you can learn. Because the reason why most people can remember the Eiffel Tower is not about France, it's not about Europe, it's not about the structure, architecture, or the views you can perceive in this building. It's not about all of these things. So, in other words, most people think in specific terms. Many people think in holistic terms, but few people think about how people think. So, to create something to be remembered, anything you want, you need to understand that people think in symbols. Think about this. Human beings use symbols as a mental shorthand to categorize and compress complex information into a pattern recognition. Ergo, the non-conscious level of the mind doesn't remember the Eiffel Tower with all of these elements, all of these pieces of information. It remembers a simple triangle. A simple triangle with two empty space, but it's just a triangle. Because in other words, you don't believe in symbols, you operate through them. Because in the mind, we'll simplify the visual environment in order to understand it. Given any composition of forms, we tend to reduce the subject matter into simplest and most regular shapes. In simple terms, human beings are governed by symbols. So you have to understand, with all of these pieces of information, the human being tried to reduce or synthesize this information in the non-conscious level of the mind. We always try to synthesize all of this information, piece of knowledge, into symbols. All of this knowledge, all of this piece of information into simple symbols in order to be remembered, in order to create something unique in the highest level of communication, the highest level of visualization system, not just for yourself, but for the others. So, if we are governed by symbols, symbols are the level of communication of system thinking. After all, if we try to build a bridge with the non-conscious level, in other words, the unknown, the structures becomes a solid paradigm because ideas information, experience, ideas, information in the conscious level. It's just a solid paradigm. So this is the reason why most people can remember the Eiffel Tower, because it's just a triangle, and a simple triangle can communicate different ideas inside your brain. This whole experience you have in the conscious level, they are reduced in a solid paradigm by through symbols. And a paradigm is a solid visual system, not just a simple idea. Because in order to be remembered, in order to be remembered, you have to create symbols. You have to create different symbols for the mind. Through society's understanding. This is a symbol. This is a symbol. This is a symbol too. This is a symbol. This is a symbol. So, we are governed by symbols. Let me see in the comments if you understand the symbol. All of these symbols are in the non-conscious level of the mind because they are a high level of communication, even if you don't realize it. Actually, this kind of symbols, this kind of high level of communication are more powerful than the ideology itself. So, what you can do in order to be remembered as a genius, think about the symbols that govern your mind. Think about the symbols that govern your family and your friends. Think about the symbols that govern our society. Think of a symbol you can create to make a positive impact on others. One that synthesizes your knowledge so it can be remembered, adding value to a common purpose. And please don't think about this kind of symbol as something negative. In the end, symbols are not manipulation, but human necessity to integrate ideas into a non-conscious level of the mind. Thank you for watching. It's always a pleasure. Nos vemos pronto. Bye bye. Chao.